Imagine you're walking down a busy street, holding an invisible bucket. Inside this bucket is a strictly finite, unreplenishable daily allowance of your care and energy. Meet Sarah. Sarah spends drops from her bucket on everything. She burns energy when a barista gives her a slightly rude look, when a coworker buys a nicer car, and when her latest photo doesn't hit 100 likes. Because she spends her energy so indiscriminately, her reserves run infinitely dry. Her bucket is empty, leaving her chronically anxious and deeply exhausted. This depletion kicks off what psychologists call the feedback loop from hell. She feels anxious about being anxious, and then gets angry at herself for being angry, burning through whatever fumes of energy she has left. While modern culture demands a pursuit of constant positivity and perfection, a resilient life requires the counterintuitive ability to care noticeably less. Sarah is emotionally bankrupt. Her exhaustion is the result of squandering limited psychological resources on things that simply do not matter. To stop this downward spiral, Sarah had to confront a harsh psychological rule, known as the backwards law. The explicit desire for a positive experience is in itself a negative experience. When you obsessively chase an idealized, perfectly happy life, you force your brain to constantly dwell on exactly what you currently lack. You just remind yourself of what you aren't. The inverse is also true. Actively accepting your negative experiences, embracing the fact that life is inherently messy and painful, paradoxically creates a positive, calming effect. But you cannot reach this acceptance if you are trapped in a victimhood mindset. As long as you believe your misery is entirely dictated by external events happening to you, you will stay miserable. We have to draw a hard line between fault and responsibility. If a drunk driver crashes into your parked car, that is entirely their fault. But it is 100% your responsibility to choose how you react to it, how you interpret the damage, and what steps you take to heal. The truth is, you rarely control the external world. True emotional stability begins the moment you stop blaming those outside forces and assume total ownership over your internal responses. That ownership requires evaluating exactly how we measure our self-worth. If you use toxic comparative metrics like wealth, popularity, or proving you are always right, you will drain your bucket for nothing. Take the story of guitarist Dave Mustaine. Right before his heavy metal band signed their first major record deal and achieved global fame, he was unexpectedly kicked out. He channeled that rejection into founding a new band, Megadeth. They eventually sold 25 million albums and played massive stadiums worldwide. Yet, by his own admission, he spent his life feeling like a failure. His chosen metric for success was permanently tied to outperforming the band that fired him, Metallica. Compare that trajectory to Pete Best. He was ousted from his position as drummer right before his band reached the absolute peak of cultural history, the Beatles. Best initially fell into a deep depression, but he recovered because he deliberately changed his metric. He prioritized a quiet, grounded life with a loving family, and ended up genuinely happier than if he had stayed in the band. Millions of records and objective wealth mean nothing if they are measured against a toxic external yardstick. Lasting contentment requires choosing honest, self-defined values. So how do we decide which values actually matter? We look to the ultimate equalizer, mortality. Humans carry the unique burden of knowing our time here is strictly limited. The terror of this looming deadline drives us to construct immortality projects. We chase superficial milestones, obsess over petty drama, and buy giant houses just to create a false sense of permanence. But when you truly internalize the brevity of your life, when you see it as a tiny, flickering candle, it acts as a ruthless filter. Suddenly, you stop spending your energy on traffic jams or internet arguments. You look inside your bucket and realize you only have enough bandwidth left for a select few things: your physical health, your close relationships, and your personal growth. Today, Sarah still lives a normal life. She still faces normal daily difficulties. The difference is that her emotional budget is now fiercely protected from trivial drains. Maturity is the strategic curation of your personal struggles. You have to choose what is truly worth your energy. If you want more strategies on guarding your mental bandwidth and mastering your mindset, hit the subscribe button below.